So in this quick lesson, we're going to take a look at how firms go back from losses, this one, losses, and from profits to how do they go back to the normal profit, to the long run equilibrium. So this is how these kinds of perfectly competitive markets equilibrate, how they return to normal profit. So we're actually going to start in a loss, and we're going to start in a profit, and then we're going to show the shift backwards, so the reverse of kind of what we did in the previous videos. So first we want quantity and price, and quantity and price, and a downward sloping demand curve. Now, one thing here is that the market price is really low, and what we're going to say is that there are actually kind of a lot of firms operating, and that's what's causing the really low market price. Okay, so price market is relatively low for the given conditions. So we know that Mr. DARP, marginal revenue, demand, average revenue, and price are also relatively low. And what we're going to say is we've got here the marginal cost curve, and we'll say that the firm operates at quantity where MR equals MC. And we're going to say that we've got, because it's telling us, hey, the firm is in a loss, we know that the price is less than the ATC. Now, this is the price, marginal revenue, demand, average revenue, price. So the ATC is going to have to be up here. ATC is way up here. And so we know that the firm is losing money, right? And we can kind of visualize, if you want, a really light version of what that profit or that loss rectangle would kind of look like. And it goes all the way over here to that ATC point. But in this one, what we're actually going to find is that some firms will shut down permanently, and exit the market. So they're going to exit the market, and when that happens, then the supply will actually decrease. Now, every time a firm shuts down, the supply curve will shift to the left, right? It's left, right? It's going to shift to the left because there are fewer firms producing, and every time that happens, right, you can imagine a slightly higher price that starts to emerge, until eventually that higher price gets to be right here where MC and ATC are. Now that new curve, right, so we can imagine that supply curve that exists will happen, that new curve will happen pretty quickly, given that in perfect competition there's free entry and exit. There's no barriers to entry and exit. So the supply curve will shift to the left because of fewer firms, and the price rises. When that occurs, Mr. DARP goes up, and it will continue to rise until the new Mr. DARP, right, is at that point of long-run equilibrium. And that long-run equilibrium point is where ATC, MC, and MR, so these three things, all cross each other. And at that value, hey, now we are at normal profit. So we actually call it normal profit because this is the normal state for them to be in, right? If they are operating at a loss, firms are going to exit, and as they exit, the Mr. DARP will rise, and that loss rectangle gets smaller and smaller until it gets to be zero, and then they are earning normal profit. Now, in the profits scenario, right, we're going to redraw here, quantity, price, and in this one the market price is going to be really high, so it's going to be way up here. Mr. DARP way up here, and we've got a marginal cost curve, and the firm is producing QF, market QM, and PM. Now, if the firm is earning a profit, then we know that the price has to be bigger than the ATC. So at this quantity, right, our ATC line has to be beneath that. So there's ATC, and you can kind of imagine the little loss or a little profit rectangle right there. Right? That's our profit. Now what's going to happen in the long run is that firms will enter. Firms will enter because they want to capture some of that profit. And when that happens, the supply curve shifts to the right. And it will keep shifting to the right until the price falls P1 to the point where now we're back at equilibrium. P1. So this, right, is obviously not a condition where price is greater than HCC. Now that profit doesn't exist anymore, and the firm is operating in the long run. Right? If we can imagine kind of that long run, looks like that. So now the firm is operating in the long run. They are now here instead of being way up here. So this again is how the firm firms are going to respond by more firms entering, and this firm, its profit will get smaller and smaller until it falls to zero. One thing that students have often observed over the years that they sometimes have trouble with, if we look here, the quantity increases here and the quantity decreases here. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? You think about yours, the quantity this firm is selling is lower, but somehow in the market it's larger. So think about how with this one here, as more firms are entering, there's overall more product being sold. But in a particular firm's store, there's going to be less transactions. So overall there's more, but fewer for this firm. And that's because the overall customer base is obviously getting larger as the quantity demanded is going up, right? You're going from this quantity demanded to this one to this one, from this one to this one to this one to this one to this. You're getting more quantity demanded, but at the same time, each individual firm is getting fewer and fewer customers. It's getting fewer customers because you're splitting up those customers among more and more firms. In this one, although there's fewer firms, they're dividing that customer base, right? And the customer base is getting smaller, right? You're getting a smaller number of quantity demanded. At the same time, even though you're losing some customers, there are some customers who are still around, and those customers are getting divided among fewer firms. So the number of customers or transactions per firm is going to rise, even though in the market, the number of total transactions is going to fall. So hopefully this helps you understand perfect competition in the long run, and I'll see you next time.